Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today's tutorial is how to make this huge folio. It is a 10-inch by 11-inch and it's actually based on my large Amazonia folio. Now I did this, I showed it in a video as a share, something I had made with this paper, and a lot of you commented you wanted a tutorial. And I said that I would possibly do one. There were some adjustments I wanted to make before I would do a tutorial, and I did them. And I decided to use this time the Stamperia Passion paper. So I'm going to hold this up, and we have about a 1-inch spine. And I think it just came out so pretty with this paper. So let's get into this. This opens up. And right here is a tuck, and I just put a little folder in there. I don't have anything on the inside yet. And it just kind of tucks back into this little spot here. Alright, this is pretty big, so I'm going to try and keep this in frame. I'm going to scoot this on down. Right here is another large fold out for this folio. But up here on the front we have a very generous size pocket. And I made another folder with some of the cut apart panels so I can get photographs inside. This is a huge picture mat I ended up making. I can place a 5x7, a 4x6, which is right here, or I can get two of the smaller ones side by side on this. So I love the wood grain, so I decided I wanted to make a large picture mat with that. Now, picture mats we don't make together. That's all according to our own taste. Some people like larger 4x6, some like the 3.5x5, some like the smaller. It's all according to your taste on how you want to do it. I haven't finished up all my picture mats, but I have quite a few in here to show you. So I'm going to scoot this down, and this folds out. Now, we still have some folds to go, but I wanted to show you this. This over here will fold out, but up front is a little fold up. Now back here, and I didn't do it, but you can get a picture mat back behind here if you would like. So this just folds up, and a great place to place a photo there. We have this one, and it folds down. I'm going to move my stuff out of the way, see a little bit better here. Another great spot. This is a wonderful place to place a photo as well. So now this will fold out. What we have here is another fold out, but we decided in the tutorial that we wanted to make a tuck. So I kind of just tucked this in here. I have a picture mat. And then this will fold out. Here is a spot just to place some picture mats. And I haven't gotten mine in there yet, but as you can see, they fit right on in. Here, what I have is some picture mats in a pocket. And this one is a folder that I created. Now, with your leftover scraps, this actually wasn't one piece. This is two pieces, strips that I found in my reserves, my scrap pile, and I just put them together, and then I cut out one of the cut aparts and one of the little tags there. And it's just a folder for me to place stuff in. Very nice. Matter of fact, I'll just stick that right on over there. Put my stuff in. These just go right here. So over here is a pocket, and we also have a waterfall, and I just kind of put my stuff right in front. It kind of helps keep that down. I have a tag. I have another little folder here. And here is the waterfall. And just kind of flip it up. And if you don't want to place your picture mats on the outside, you can always place them on the inside, just like that. But I did like the concept of having this on top. It kind of holds it all down together. Okay, so I'm going to come on over to here, and over here we have two very large fold outs. And up front here is a place just to tuck maybe a picture mat, maybe a folder. Perhaps you want to do it this way. However you want to do it. I just tucked mine right on into the side there and it holds it. So this folds out, and there's a place right here too to place photos. And we've got a ton of places just to put our photographs. Over here we have a little pocket. You can even put a photograph here and then put some picture mats, your pictures in the pockets. Alright, so I'm just going to close that right on up, and I'm going to move this down, fold this out. This is a huge fold out right here. Up front we have a very generous sized pocket that you can stuff with more stuff. I put another little folder in there, and then I made this huge folder. And also inside you will see that there is a cut strip of paper. This is actually left over from when we were cutting in the tutorial, and I decided to make good use of it since I couldn't make it into a picture mat. So I made it as a tuck. And here, those are just strips that I went and glued together, merged together, and it looks really good. And I just put one of the kind of parts in there, and I can place photos and put more paper over here if I wanted. So there's that. Okay, this will fold out. Now what we have are two huge places that is just open area for us to start sticking our photographs. So you can stick a photograph here. You can use, and this is 4x6. Put some here, maybe one here, here. However you would like to do that, you know. However you would like. So that is what we will be making today in the tutorial. Just all folds right back up for us. So let's move on to the materials list. There's not much to this. Materials list. So let's go over our materials. There's not much to this. You're going to need 2 packs of the Stamperia Passion 12 by 12 paper packs. And the colors in this is just beautiful. So 2 of these. You're going to want the American Crafts 80-pound 12 by 12 cardstock, and I'm using black. And there's 25 sheets in here, which is perfect. You're going to need a full pack of magnets for this. This is a large folio, and we'll be placing some of these magnets strategically within the folio. And I'll explain about that as we get into the tutorial. Some 1/4-inch score tape, and you'll want some art glitter, dries clear glue, and you'll also want to get that metal tip. Other little things that I am going to add in are I have some leaves, and this is optional. You don't have to. So I have some leaves here, and these are the Tim Holtz bouquet flowers. They're white, and what we'll be using these for is they flatten out really nice. And we're just going to leave them white as is, and that's optional too. Inks. I am going to be using a little bit of the Tim Holtz Distress ink. This is Vintage Photo. And all this is for dabbing a little bit of color. We'll dab in here. And then what we'll do is we're going to blot the majority off. And then with our white little flowers, we're just going to dab on a little color to take away some of the brightness of the white, and it looks really good on the cover. So in the tutorial, we'll lay the flowers down, then we're going to dab them with a dauber. Equipment that you're going to want. You're going to need a ruler, a pencil, eraser, craft knife is handy, your scoring tool or bone folder, some scissors, paper cutter, and scoring board. Alright, I'm super excited. Let's start assembling this and putting our large folio together. we are on to assembling the folio base. And we had some pre-cuts, and it's all the same. We had 4 pieces that were 10 by 12, and we labeled them folio base. So we're going to apply our 1/4 inch score tape first. We're going to seam these together, and then we're going to score. So the first thing that we want to do is lay it so we are 12 inches across. And this is where I like to get my paper cutter out because it has a paper guide to keep me straight. So the first thing I'm going to do is come right to the edge. Again, we are 12 inches wide, 10 inches tall, and we're just going to lay a piece of our score tape. It's a 1/4 inch. That's our overlap. Right along the edge here, without going over, of course. Once you get that down, let's burnish. And this is where the craft knife comes in handy. I'm going to get that out of the way. We're not cutting. And I'm going to release that. So what I'm going to do now is just put that all the way up. I'm going to grab my next piece. I'm going to slip it under here, but I'm going to use it to keep it straight up against this guide. And I'm going to push this up just a little bit more. So I'm going to put that up against the guide, this up against the guide, and I am going to overlap on top of the 1/4 inch score tape. And that helps me keep these straight. And then we're going to burnish. Okay, this gets pretty long, so I'm going to slide this over. And I'm going to grab another piece. I'll put it on this side. And we're going to keep seaming this. And I see I have some score tape peeking over the edge. I got to get rid of that because it will show. I'm going to release this. Slide it up here. Here's my next piece. Again, this gets super long until we score and fold it all in. So I got that up, and I'm going to lay it over. Okay, scooting this down. We've got one more to attach. And you'll want to burnish anytime you lay down any score tape or adhesive. What am I looking for? This. Okay, press that over. Folio base. Make sure that's up. And this does get super long, so just make sure you're up against your guide or however you do it. Whoops. And overlap. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way, and this is where we have to score this and mark it with pencil first in sections because it's just way too long. So get your ruler out. And again, we are 10 inches tall and super wide. Okay, that's how we are going to do it. So I'm going to bring this down so I don't get my head in the video. I'm going to place my ruler down at the top. And what we're going to do is we'll be measuring over, making a pencil line, and then we will measure on out from there. So the first one that we want to do is, and we're going to start over here, the measurement, and go this way. We're going to come over to 5.5 inches and make a pencil line. And while our ruler is still down, we're going to go to 6 9/16. So I'm going to flip my ruler over here because now I can see. So 6 9/16, make a pencil mark. So that's all we have right now. Okay, now we're going to go in sections from that last score line. I want you to line up your ruler, and we're going to measure over 11 inches and make a line. From this line, we're going to measure over 1 inch and make a line. We'll move our ruler over and line it up with that last line we made. We're going to measure over from that 11 inches. I'm going to scoot this down. We'll line our ruler up with that last one that we just did. We're going to measure over 1/2 inch and make a line. We'll line our ruler up with that line, and we're going to measure over 9.5 inches from that. Scoot this down. Like I said, it gets really long. We'll line up with that one, and we'll measure over 1/2 inch. Let's grab our scoring board. Now, this is so long. I mean, totally long. So all we're going to do here is we're just going to line up our little pencil lines with a notch, any notch. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you're straight. And we're going to start scoring on those lines. So here's my first. I'll score right there. My next line, I'll just make sure it lines up with a groove. And I'm going to keep doing this until all of that is done. It looks like the last two here. Line those up. Make sure I get that straight. Okay, grab your eraser, and we can erase that. We're going to label these how they're supposed to. And we definitely don't want pencil on our score lines anyway. What we're going to do now is fold. So this is very long. It's going to take me a moment to fold. But when I fold, I'm going to make sure when I fold over that this lines up with this and this. That's very important. And we will use our tool. So we're just going to be folding one way. And if it gets too long, you can always start folding from the other side. But just make sure that this all lines up. Okay, this is getting super long, so I'm going to start folding from this side. Now I got a couple more left here, it looks like. Okay, if you have the peaks down, and if you were to fold in these sides, this side is shorter than this side. I want you to flip it around to where this side is your 5.5. This is always going to be off to the right hand side. This is our closure. And so the first thing I want you to do, and you can just push that right back on this first panel. It's 5.5. What you're going to write is the outside closure, so that it keeps you straight while we label this. Let's slide this down. Now that we have this folded in, you're going to fold it so it looks like this. It's very large. Next, we're going to fold this in again until we can get this like this. So we just folded everything in. It's all folded one way. We go here, 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 and here. Okay? This is our outside front of folio. Now I want you to use your pencil and do this as well. This is what's going to keep you from getting confused because there's a lot of different parts to this. There's so many folds. We need to label it. So once you have it labeled like this, out here you're going to put outside, whoops, I can't even write, outside spine. Yeah, my writing is not very good. So, outside spine, flip it over. This is the back, outside back of folio. Come on over to this side, and this is the outside spine. So everything is labeled there. Outside closure, that is going to come over the front of our folio. We have outside spine, back of folio on the outside, and the other outside spine. Okay, we're going to open this up. Just flip it right on over. What I want you to do is come in maybe an inch or so, and just, it doesn't matter. We can always place our magnets, but we are going to put magnets. That's going to, if we get turned around, it's going to tell us and remind us this is where our magnets go. It comes over like this. So right now what I'm doing is just putting lines right where those score lines are. You don't have to do that. That is just for you. We're going to start labeling our pieces here. So this is how I want you to be. Open it all up. It's so hard to get in here on this side. You're going to fold this in, and you're going to fold it over. So this is all you're going to see right now. Right here, I want you to write and fold in, whoops, right on that little line. Fold in panel 1. That's important because we have sections on the pre-cutting guide that says fold in panel 1. Okay, we're going to just fold that right out. So now this is what you see. We're going to write fold in panel 2. Okay, so now you have this. Open it up. Right here, you're going to put P1, panel 1. Here's my score lines. Don't have to put your lines there. This is just so you can see on the black. In between these two score lines, I want you to put inside spine, because that's part of the spine right here. Here, we're going to put P2. That's panel 2. Here and here, we have two score lines. In between, we're going to write inside spine. Here is P3 for panel 3. Here is P4, panel 4. And right here and here I put two score lines. We're going to put inside spine. And again, this will get covered up. So P4. In between these two score lines, we're going to put inside spine. And our last is P5, where our magnets are. So if you were to open this whole thing up flat, you should be panel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you fold this in, it should say fold in panel 2. When you fold it over, fold in panel 1. When you fold it again, you're going to see the outside front of Folio, and when that comes over, there. Wonderful. That's all we need. So before we go to decorating the outside, we're going to want to place a couple magnets here. So let's get out our magnets. We're going to grab 2 plus and 2 minus. And again, this is where the this is where the craft knife comes in handy. So all I want you to do is come in maybe an inch or so, and you're going to place 2 magnets, one here and one here. You're just going to place it so that they're semi-even. I have a plus down, here's a minus, just stick that on top. Here's my other plus. And we're going to come down. Again, those circles were just, you know, me putting that so we knew. So you just put them, space them out, okay, and then place the mate on top. Now we're going to do this one at a time, and I'm going to show you and walk you through this. I'm going to release the backing off that one mate. I'm going to stand this up just as is. You see this little corner here? It's going to tuck in the corner. Here's my score lines. This one. And you're just going to bring it right in the corner. And then you can pinch it to keep it straight. Keep your hand there so it doesn't get away. And you're going to bring it over even with the top of the other one. As even as you can. Okay? And once you have that, and you know that's even, you can press. Now the next one is very easy. So instead of pulling straight up to get this unattached, because the magnets are so strong it can tear off your page, just kind of shimmy it up a little to undo that. Here's our second mate. We're going to do the same thing, and that is going to help it catch. So again, I'm going to keep my hand in here. I'm going to bring it into the corner. This top one is going to catch. Okay, so the sticky one, just put your hand so it does not catch. And now you can make sure that you line up and you can press. And there is our folio base. So I'm going to undo this like this so you can kind of take a look. So when it's all together, it will latch. Oop, my dogs are playing in the hallway there. Okay, we are now moving on to decorating the outside. We are on decorating the outside. We have one pre-cut. It's a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and we called it a mat. I'm going to get out my paper cutter because we're going to start cutting on some of our decorative paper. And I kind of want to show you how it's done. One thing is I'm always going to tell you pretty much about 99% of the time that when we look at our paper, we're going to start from here and measure over this way. So let me grab our paper. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print on the back. It looks like this. So the first thing I want you to do is turn your paper so now the lace is over here. We're going to measure over 9 3/4 and cut. So let's do that. 9. My blade is right here, by the way, right at the edge of this. So measuring over 9 3/4 and cutting. This piece here we're going to stick into our reserves. Our reserves is our scrap pile. We're reserving it to use later on or wherever we want in the tutorial as we go. So this is what you should have. Next, we're going to turn it like this. We're going to measure over 10 3/4 and cut. So 10 3/4, and we are cutting. We're going to stick this in our reserves. I'm going to move this out of the way temporarily. Let's grab our folio. And we'll just open that right on up. So with this, we're going to start right here. And our cut, if we were to center this right on the outside front of folio, that's going to give us just a little bit of a black border all the way around our piece. So I'm going to set this aside. This is where I like to use score tape. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at this side, and I'm going to place my score tape without going over the edge all the way around like a picture frame to start. And if I get any score tape that peeks over the edge, I'm definitely going to trim that off. Now that I got around the outside of my edges, I'm going to lay my score tape down the middle. And since I'm using 1/4 inch, I'm going to lay 3 pieces on each side of this. So I'll go one in the middle here, and get on either side. And I'm going to do the same over here. Before I do anything, I'm going to make sure I burnish down that score tape really good. Get all the air out from underneath that tape, and making sure it makes contact with my paper really good. Next, this is where I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to look to see if any score tape is peeking over the edges. I'm going to trim it because I definitely don't want that showing. That looks good. So again, outside of front of folio, and all I'm going to do here to make my life easier is I'm going to open it right up and lay it flat. It's going to be so much easier. Now you have a score line here and a score line here, and then in between. And since this is such a big piece, when I remove the score tape, I can put some glue here so that when I'm trying to get this on straight and in between those score lines nicely, it'll give me a little time to position this. Because score tape is not forgiving, and it's not supposed to be, so that when it goes down, it goes down. If you do a little bit of glue, it'll allow you to slip it around just a little bit to try to get that on straight. So I'm just removing the score tape backing, and my craft knife comes in so handy. So this is what I was talking about. You can put some dots of glue or just run a line up here so that to get this on, and you'll want to get your, just in case. So again, we are positioning this in between those score lines there. And I'll show you this as soon as I'm done. I'm going to try and keep my head out of the video. And I just want to try and get this on as even as I can. And now I'm going to burnish. Be careful of your little magnets there, but get that down really good. Okay, my magnets are right here. I can feel them. So now, let me put this all back together. So now this is what your front should look like. Fold it all back behind with a nice black border all the way around there. Okay, let's close that up, and we're going to find our paper for this. And I'm going to set this off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print. On the back, it looks like this. I'll get my paper cutter out here so we can do this together. Here's my guide, and again, here's where my blade is. We're going to measure over 5¼ inches and cut. So again, starting from here, measure over this way, 5¼ and cut. So 5¼ This piece, put in your reserves. Now let's turn it this way. We're going to measure over 9¾ and cut. Put that in your reserves. This is the outside closure. This piece here is going to lay, and you're going to center it in between the edges up and down, and it should match up to the bottom of this one. And we're going to place that. And that looks pretty darn good. So again, I'm going to do my score tape. I'm using score tape for the outside, and then on the inside, I can just use glue. Okay. Next, we're going to go one down the middle, and we'll go 2 on each side of that. These are huge pieces, so I just want to make sure I don't get any bubbling up or whatnot. Alright, let's burnish. I think you're really going to enjoy this tutorial. The paper is amazing. I know a lot of you, when I originally showed it when we got it in our store, I asked people what was your favorite. This was one of the ones that people thought it was really pretty. And I did too. Again, so the top has this, so that's the way it's going to lay down if you'd like to squirt a little glue up here to help you in case you need to maneuver. So with it latched, I'm going to start, and then I can open it up to burnish it down. I just want to make sure that I get this even with the other one. And I think I'm fairly close to that. Okay, I've got the starts of it. I'm going to just open this up now, and I'm going to burnish. So far, so good. Now, don't worry about this bowing down right now. As soon as we get the rest of the insides in there, it won't do that. Let's just set that off to the side for a moment and grab our 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 mat. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. I'm going to grab my paper cutter. All we're going to do with this is we're going to cut out this piece here. So I can cut this piece out as well. I'll just come down, and when I do that, I'll be chopping off the white. So I'm going to show you. Get that lined up there. So you can see, and I left the brown border. This piece, put in your reserves, and I'm going to come right up underneath the piano keys. I'm going to stick this in reserves, and now all I have to do is trim up the white from around this. Now, just in case, even though these seem like nothing to use, just put them in your reserves in case we need those. Grab your mat. If you were to place this down, this should give you a nice black border. Now, you can shimmy it up to where your borders are the same here, here, and here. If you need to chop off a little down here, do so, or just bring it down. I think I'm going to trim this just a little bit once I get this glued down. And we're just centering it on there. I think that's pretty straight. Looks good. And then we're going to use our tool to burnish that down. Get that glue spread out from underneath. Make sure it adheres down to our paper. Any glue that seeps out, you can just wipe up. Now I'm going to trim just a little more off this. There we go, to where it looks a little more even. Let's grab our piece. We're going to glue that right down here, right to the front. And I have this closed so I can kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm just coming down a little bit. I'm trying to center it in between the edge of this closure even. And coming down just a little bit, maybe an inch down. Okay. Once I get that, then I can open this up and burnish this down. So far, so good. Now let's just open this up. We do have something to go down here. The last page of your paper pack, let's grab out. This is our cut aparts. And what we're going to do is anytime we cut something out, we're going to try and weave in so that the rest doesn't get detached from the paper. It's just easier that way to find our pieces if it's all still on one page. What we're looking for is this. So we're going to come up from the bottom. We'll weave around it as best we can. And then we're going to stick this whole piece in our reserves. So with this piece, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out and around it. And I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I'm done doing that. I am done cutting mine out. Now when we were cutting for our pre-cuts, you'll probably have some leftover black cardstock, and we're going to be gluing this down to it, and then we're going to cut out and around it, leaving a black border. Not only will this make that stand out, but it's going to strengthen the piece because we're going to use this as a little tuck. So I'll place this down. So did any of you play violin in school when you were growing up? I did. I played for about 2 or 3 years. I had my own fiddle. And now this is when I was a lot younger, back in elementary school, but I did. And I was really good at it. And then what I ended up doing was switching on over to the flute for a year. And I really stunk at the flute. I couldn't do nothing. And I couldn't understand the music. And then after a couple years, I wanted to play the fiddle again, the violin, and it just didn't work out too well. I couldn't pick back up where I had left off, so it was no longer fun for me. All right, here we go. So we have this. Now what we're going to do, that it's glued down and burnished down, we're going to cut out and around this image, leaving just a little bit of a black border. And I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done. This is what mine looks like after I cut out and around it. Let's grab our piece over here, and this is going to be a tuck for us. So if you were to just place it down and shut this, one thing that you will probably want to do is at the very tip, you may want to glue that down. So I'm going to position mine here. I'm 1/4 inch in from the side and the bottom, and I'm going to take a look. And I think that that's going to work perfectly for me. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line along the bottom and just at the tip. And I'll just slide my hand in there, and I'm going to place this right about here. And I'm going to press, I have my hand in there to help me here. Just make sure you get down the tip. Keep that down, and then we'll burnish. And you can open this up to burnish if you would prefer. And wipe up any glue that wants to seep out. So now you can see this is now a little tuck area that you can slide a photo back in, perhaps on a picture mat or just sliding your photo. And it gets protected from when this comes over the side. Okay, let's start getting for the sides. In your reserves, you will have this on the back. It looks like this. And I'll get my paper cutter out here. We'll hold it looking at it like this, and we're going to measure over 9 3/4 and cut. This little piece put in your reserves. Looking at it like this now, what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 7/8 and cut. We'll measure over again 7/8 and cut. Now my paper cutter has a 1 inch and then there's nothing for anything lower than that. I can use my other paper cutter that does. However, all I'm going to do is grab my ruler and make some pencil marks. And I'm going to do the best I can with cutting this, keeping it straight. There's my first, and now I'm going to cut for my second one. This piece put in your reserves. Put this out of the way. And all we're going to do with that, and we're going to open this up a little so it's easier for us. We are on the outside spine, right next to this. This should fit in between those score lines there. And for this, we'll just use glue. Just make sure you get near the edges there so there's no snagging. And in between the score lines, and I'm trying to get this even with the bottom of this one. And if you're not quite sure if you're straight, just kind of before the glue sets, do your thing. So all I'm going to do now is scoot this over until I find my other outside spine, and I'm going to do the same thing in between. That looks pretty straight. And burnish. While we have it like this, let's get the back of the folio covered. We're ready to cut our paper for the back side. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous piece. And on the back is these beautiful roses. We're going to make several cuts so that we can try and get this centered back there. So I'm going to grab my paper cutter. The first cut, we're going to measure over 11 3/8 and cut. And that should put us just to the right of this black line. So 11 3/8. This is a great piece. Place that in your reserves. Okay. And we're looking at it so the writing is correct, but now what we're going to do is flip it so it is upside down. This is the side we just shaved. We're going to measure over 10 3/4 and cut. 10 3/4. We'll place this in reserves. So right now you can see that we have this pretty much centered. So pick your piece up like this. We're sideways right now. The rose is up here. Measure over 10 7/8 and cut. So 10 7/8. Place that in reserves. That's what we should have. We're going to flip it around to where the rose is over here now, and we're going to measure over 9 3/4. That's 9 3/4. So now we have something that looks right. I'm going to move this out of the way. And if you were to place this on your back piece, you should be able to line up with the bottom over. Whoops, I'm going to push this up. You should be able to line up with the bottom of your paper over here, place it in between those score lines, and it's going to look right. So we're going to get our score tape out. We're going to place it like a picture frame. We'll go 1 down the middle and 3 on each side. This is what the back of your piece should look like once you have your score tape. Check to make sure none is overhanging. Burnish it down, and then we're going to remove the score tape, and you can use the glue trick by putting a little up there, and you're going to center that in between your score lines. I'm ready. I got the backing off. I'm ready. Make sure the rose is down here so it's going the right way, and we're just going to try and center that. Whoops, my score tape got kind of crazy over here. There we go. So now let's take a look. Let's close this all up, fold it in our sides, and latch. Looks good. Now there's only one more thing I would like to do, and that's place some leaves and some of these Tim Holtz bouquet flowers. And I'm not sure how I want to do this yet. Got some flowers already cut. I'm just going to lay this down and kind of take a peek. And I can see how I want to do this. So this piece here I'm going to glue down. And again, I'm going to open this up. It's easier for me to burnish. If you don't have leaves, that's okay. You can just put some flowers around over here or none at all. So I'm just going to make sure that these leaves don't go over the edge. I'm just going to add some glue back behind the flowers. And these will flatten out for you. Okay, so I'm going to close this all back up. My flowers do need to dry. And that's how it looks. Now I can add some more if I wanted to. Maybe another one right here or somewhere else. But it's totally up to you how you would like to do this. Now that we have the white flowers on, I want you to grab your vintage photo or a light brown color, and all we're going to do is dab on there. But first, before you do that, I want you to dab off the majority of your color. Then what you're going to do is come right over the top and press. And you're only going to get a little bit on that flower. So a little bit, and we're going to dab. So as you can see, just a little bit on there. And what it is doing when we just dab and we don't have much on here, you're still going to get some color, but it's not going to be overpowering. It's going to kind of take away some of the brightness of the white. And that's it. All right, so for now I think that this is good. I might add something else here a little bit later. But now we are on, if you open it up, fold in panel 1. Let's find our paper. Before we get into our main paper for our fold in panel 1, we have one pre-cut to go over. And I forgot to write down the size of this. This is 2 3/4 by 10 1/4. And we just called it a pocket. What we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we were 2 3/4 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. Then we turned it, so now we are 10 1/4 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch. and 9 3/4. So while we have this out, we're going to cut out those little corners and we'll get this ready to go. So corner here, and down here you see where your score lines make a corner. That's what we're going to do. And you just cut right on your score lines. Get that piece out. Once you have that, we just fold on those score lines. Fold in the sides. We're going to grab our glue. Now, with the sides folded in, you have your flap at the bottom. Down here in the corner, we're going to dab a little glue. Just a little bit. And you'll notice that when I dab the glue, I'm not going past how far over these go, just in the corner. Because now what we're going to do with those folded in is we're going to pull this up. And we're going to need our tool to kind of burnish that. And our pocket is ready to go. Let's get our main sheet that we're going to be working with, and that is this one. You'll find it in your paper pack. On the back, it's the tags page. We're going to turn it sideways, so dance is down here. We're going to measure over 9 3/4 and cut. And I don't think you really need to see me cutting the paper anymore. I think you understand what I'm doing now. So once you cut the paper, this is what you have left. Put that in your reserves. Next, looking at it like this, your dance is back the way, it's going the way it's supposed to. We're going to measure over 9 1/4 inches and cut. Now this is a page that we're going to have to place some magnets strategically. And again, I will explain that to you like I said I would. But first what we're going to do is I'm going to grab this. Here's our fold-in panel. Oops, I bumped the camera. Now one thing is, a lot of you saw that I had shared my Amazonia large folio. And I said before I did a tutorial, I would need to make some adjustments. And the adjustments is the drag. Our inner pages are so big. The bigger they are, the heavier they are, and gravity will take an effect. So when I created this, I had, when I suspended it up like this, I would have some drag, meaning this would drag down a little. And it was too much for my liking. So my adjustment was to add some magnets strategically. Now we don't store our album by suspending it in the air. When we store our albums, it's either we store it upright, we lay it down, however it is. However, when you pick it up to carry it, I didn't like my drag down here. So I ended up adding some magnets to this. And that is what we're going to be doing here. So right now what we're going to do is place one magnet just right on this panel. So just grab a plus, and then we will place another one on our decorative paper once we get the pocket down. So with this, what I want you to do is come down an inch and come over an inch. And I would like you to just place a magnet right here. Okay, I'm going to set this off to the side. Okay, I lost my pocket. I need to find where I put my pocket. I found my pocket. Don't ask me how I could lose that, but it got pushed over with my other pre-cuts. Anyway, our opening is going to be here, and we're going to glue this pocket down directly to the bottom of our decorative paper. So let's do that. And then we can get another magnet on this once this is down, and then we'll cover it with paper. Okay, So again, the opening is here, and we're just going to bring that down to the bottom of our decorated paper, match it up side to side, and we're going to place that. We'll burnish that down a bit. Let's grab another plus. And we're going to do the same thing in bottom corner. Come up about an inch, come over about an inch, and place this. Let's grab our paper for that. And I had something in mind. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print. On the back, it is this. So looking at it like this, all we're going to do, your roses down here, we're going to measure over 2 1/8 and cut. And this is the piece that we want. And we're just going to turn it like this. We're going to measure over 9 1/4 inches and cut. So this is what you should have. Flip it over. And I think we're going to place it to where the blue is up. Let's see. Actually, that looks really good, just like that. So we're going to put some glue here on that, and we're going to get this piece down. So however looks right to you. Either way. And we will bring it over to the side and to the bottom. And that should give us a little bit of a black lip up here to separate our pocket out. That looks even. And we'll burnish. Just be careful around your magnet. Get it down over there. In your paper pack, you will find this. On the back, it's the cover. This one here, work harder than you did yesterday. And I think with this, I'm going to leave this alone in case we need it, but I am just going to come in probably right around here. And I'm going to cut this way and then down so that this doesn't get detached. Without getting on any of this, just in case. So I'm going to go real close. I hate it when I start detaching pieces from stuff like this. It's hard to find it in our reserves when there's paper. So now all I'm going to do is cut out and around this image. And I'll show you what mine looks like as soon as I'm done. I have mine cut out. That was a fairly simple one to cut out. And now all I'm going to do is glue it down to some black cardstock, and then I'm going to cut out and around this, leaving a little bit of black border so it doesn't get lost in the prints. As soon as I am done cutting out around mine, I will show you what I got. So here is mine, just a little bit of a black border. And I'm going to place this right here. And make sure you have some going across the top. Just don't get glue all the way up there because it will glue your pocket down. We're just going to place that. On your cut apart sheet here, here's a little ballerina. This little rosebud, we're going to cut out and around it. We're not going to back this with any black cardstock. We're just going to cut around it. So this is what it looks like. I'm just going to stick that right there. So apply glue to it. Like that. That looks good. It is time to get this in our folio. I'm going to move this out of the way. Open this up. And we are on this page again, once again. We have a magnet under here, and we have a magnet here. Now I'm going to completely open this up and flatten this out so I can see what I'm doing. We're going to apply glue. Make sure you get your edges really good. We'll tap a little glue on the magnet, but we're just going to center it on the page, and it will fit in between those score lines there if you were to look at it. And we'll center that in and glue it down, and definitely want to burnish that. I'm going to just push that back so all I see is the side over here. It'll help me. So all I'm doing is I am going to center this top and bottom, make sure I leave myself some room away from that, and just getting it on straight. And I'll show you mine here in just a moment. Watch out for that magnet, just get around it. Just to get this all burnished down and clean up any glue that wants to seep out on you. Okay, so this is what mine looks like once it's on my page. Before we finish up, I do want you to grab the mates and just stick them right on top. It's our reminder that when we are on panel 4, because that's where it's going to hook onto to help keep this stable. So just put the mates on, leave it alone, leave the backing on. We're not ready to do anything with that. We're just going to open this up. We are now moving on to fold-in panel number 2. We are on fold-in panel number 2. We have 2 pre-cuts, and they're exactly the same. They're 6 by 6.5. And we called it a flip. So what we ended up doing on this, the scoring is, we laid this on our scoring board so we were 6 inches across. We scored each at a 1/2 inch, each one. That's it. Very easy. We're going to set these off to the side, and we're going to find our decorated paper. In your reserves, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. The first thing that we're going to do, oh, and I'm going to give you the measurements. We are 12 inches long, and we are 6 3/4 wide. Looking at it like this, we're just going to measure over 6.5 and take a little bit off that. So this is what we will be putting in our reserves. We will turn this, and we're going to measure over 9 3/4 and cut. And this is what we have. Very pretty. We're going to grab our 2 flips, 6 by 6.5. And we're going to fold on those score lines. Okay, one of them is going to have the hinge at the top. And all we're going to do is place that over the top and wrap that over to the back and line that up side to side. It should be 6.5 like that. Okay, so once you have it where it needs to be, pinch and hold it and flip it over. And I like to place my hand down so it does not slide around on me. We're just going to fold that little flat back, and we're going to press it over, and we'll burnish that. Now once we do that, we're going to lift this up and make sure we don't have any glue seeping out there, and I don't. Next, on our other one, our hinge is going to be at the bottom. So we're just going to slide that over the bottom, make sure our sides are matched up. We'll pinch and hold it, and we'll glue this flap down. Now, on one of these, we will be having to place another magnet. So we're just going to open this up so we see which way we're going here. Fold up your bottom one. Let's grab a plus. All we need right now is our plus. Down in the corner here, we're going to place this down so it's 1 inch away. The side of this is going to be at that point, and we're going to be 1 inch from the bottom. So right about here. So 1 inch and about 1 inch. So the top would be the 1 inch mark, the side. Alright, now that we have that, don't worry about the mate yet. We won't do anything with that. We're just going to fold this down and get our paper for in here. In your reserves, you will have this beautiful piece. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. So this is what your piece should look like. Turn it this way, measure over 5 1/4 and cut. Measure over again 5 1/4 and cut. This is what you should have. And all we're going to do is apply glue. We're going to center it up in here and we'll burnish it and glue it down. And this one goes down here. So let's do that really quick. Alright, I got that done. And we'll get for the paper over this. I found the paper that I would like us to use for on top of here. In your paper pack, you'll find this gorgeous piece. On the back, it looks like this. All we're going to do for our first cut is measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. And this is what you will have. We're going to turn it sideways, measure over 5 1/4 inches and cut. Measure over again 5 1/4 inches and cut. So these are the two pieces that we're going to have. And this one here, I'm going to apply glue and I'm going to center it on the top one and glue that down. This one, I'll apply glue. Now if you'd rather have this one here, you can. If you want to wait and see what we do on top, you can. I'm going to go ahead and just glue it down like this. Alright, let's close that up. I'm going to set this off to the side here. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back, it looks like this. All we're going to do is cut straight down to divide these up. So that is what I did. I'm going to put that in reserves. I'm going to now divide these two panels up. This is the one we want, and we're going to cut off the white. Okay, this was not on your, here's what mine looks like, by the way. I have the brown border around it. This is not on your pre-cutting. I want you to cut a piece that is 3 3/16 by 5 11/16 on your black cardstock. And once you do that, if you were to place this over, it will give you a nice black border. And we're going to glue this down, centering it on there. Let's grab our panel, make sure that you have it going the right way. And this is going to glue down right like this. But we want to be able to use this as a little tuck. We don't want it so far down that it's going to mess up or over here. We want it centered. So all I'm going to do is put a line on the bottom of this. And to figure out what I need, I'm just going to kind of place this down so I can see side to side. I'm going to stick a little piece of scrap cardstock, and I think it will go right like this, right in between there. I'm going to flip it up and make sure I have no glue. Now in your reserves you will have this on the back. It is the same. This piece, it's the piano keys. This piece is about 5 1/4 by about 2 1/4. Now we're just going to do a measure to fit because we didn't measure down and place this. We all might have shifted this a little lower or top, but we're going to flip this up And we're going to place this down. If you need to trim a little off, that's fine, but just place it down so it leaves you a little bit of a black border so it's all the same. We're going to take our pencil. We'll make a pencil mark just on the inside of the black cardstock so it will give us a black border over there. So now I know where I need to cut this down. So we're not just leaving that black. And mine seems to be like a perfect fit. If I was to place this down, it looks good. So I'm ready and I'm going to place that down. Whoops. I'm a little heavy-handed on my glue today. So when you open it up, you see. Okay, this is where our magnet sits. Grab the mate and just stick it right on top there. Let's get our fold-in panel. Here it is. I'm just going to press that over so all I see is what I need to see. I'm going to apply glue to the back of this, and I'm going to center it on this panel, just like that. Oh, that's so pretty. So just do the best you can there. I think I'm pretty straight. So once I have it down, then I'm going to burnish it. Panel 2 is complete, and I wanted to kind of show you something that you can stick a picture mat right in behind there. So it's like a tuck. Okay, we are now moving on to panel 1, P1. We're on panel 1, P1. We have 3 pre-cuts. Let's review them. The first one was 2 7/8 by 7.5 inches. We called it P1 for panel 1, pocket. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 2 7/8 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. We then turned it, so now we are 7.5 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch and 7 inches. Our next one was a 7 3/16 by 7 1/4. We called it a fold out. What we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we were 7 3/16 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. We labeled that a fold out. Next, we had a 1 7/8 by 8 inch. We called it P1 FO side pocket. FO stands for fold out. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 1 7/8 across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. We then turned it, so now we are 8 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 7.5 inches. Let's get into our decorated paper. In your paper pack, you will find this print. It's very lovely. We're going to turn this upside down. So now we're looking at it. The pink is over here. We're going to measure over 6.5 inches and cut. So this is what your piece looks like. Turn it this way, measure over 9 3/4 and cut. So this is what I have. So I'm just going to turn this around till I know the writing is correct. It's not upside down. And you can kind of see some writing up here to help you along with that, but the brown is mostly down here. Let's grab our 2 7/8 by 7.5 inch pocket. We're going to grab our scissors. Down here in the corner where you see it makes that little square, we're going to cut it out right there, that little corner piece. And we're going to come over here and do the same. We're just going to fold on those score lines. And we're going to assemble this the same way we've done another pocket previously. We'll have our sides in and the flap down. And down here in the corner, just dab a little glue. And we're going to fold that up. Let's get our glue out. And the opening is here. So we'll just match this up with our piece at the bottom. This is where we need our last set of magnets. Right now, just grab your plus. And we're going to do the same thing. Come in about an inch up, and place that right in the bottom corner there. The mate, hang on to. We're not ready for that. Let's get our paper for the pocket. In your reserves, you will have this. It's the cutting off the bottom of that. It's perfect size. If you were to place this down, it will leave you a black lip if you bring it to the bottom. Let's just use that. It's a great piece. So I'm applying glue to the pink side. And I'm going to make sure I get around those magnets there. The magnet, I should say. Bring it to the bottom. And I'm just going to use my tool to get around, make sure the sides get glued down really good. Perfect. We're going to grab our 7 3/16 by 7 1/4 fold out. And all we're going to do is fold on those score lines on both of them. And it can be a little tricky there. Get that, but there's such a narrow score line. Our hinge is going to be off to the left. You will notice that you have an inside score line and an outside. On the outside one, we're going to pinch and crease it. You will still be able to see your other one. We're going to bring that to the left, and we are just going to line that up with the top of our piece, and it will clear the pocket, and we're going to fold it over the back and glue this hinge down. Once you have that, you can fold. Oop, this is where we always need to check. I have a little bit of glue seeping out. Once you do that, you can fold back on your other score line and push it. That should put you where you are pretty even with the edges there. Let's fold that out and get our paper for over here. We're going to conserve on some paper. So in your reserves, you have this. It's the cutting from the other side of that. Okay. And we're going to look at it. Let's see. Like this, the correct way, where you can see the word example up there. Once you know you have it in the right position, we're going to turn it sideways. We're going to measure over 6 7/8 and cut. This is what you should have. Now be mindful of that outside score line. Now this isn't going to be quite wide enough to fill over here, but that's because we're going to conserve on our paper instead of cutting into a new piece. This pocket that we have yet to assemble will come over it. So what we're going to do is we are going to center that. You'll have a black border here, here, and you will leave the same amount of border right over here. Let's apply glue. So again, if you want to start by making sure you have the correct or the same border top and bottom, and then you can make sure you have the same border before you hit that outside score line. Make sure I'm straight there. And we're going to burnish that. Let's grab our 1 7/8 by 8 inch side pocket. All we're going to do is cut out those little squares in the corner that our score lines make. Let's fold on those score lines, and we're going to assemble this. Just a little side pocket tuck area. Holding our sides in, we can see where we need to dab our glue down here. Once you have that, we can now apply some glue. And the opening is this way, and we're just going to place it over our paper here. And that way we can serve on our paper, because we still have quite a bit to go here, and we're going to need some of those larger pieces because this is a larger folio. In your reserves, you will find this long strip. It is about 10 3/4 long by about 1 1/8. I think that that's going to work perfectly for us if we laid it down. On the back, by the way, it looks like this. So we have the pink over here. We're going to measure over 7 inches and cut. We're going to apply glue to this side, and we're just going to center that right there, leaving ourselves a black lip so we can tell what it is. So that looks about right. And that looks good. We'll fold that in, and we're going to find our piece for this. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to turn it upside down to where this is over here at the bottom. On this one, what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 6 3/8 and cut. And this is what you should have. This should be over here in the corner, measure over 7 inches and cut. This is our piece. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to center it right there and glue it down. On your cut apart piece, what we're going to get after is this. I think that's really pretty. I'm going to go for that. So there's one piece. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out and around this. Then what we're going to do is glue this down to some black cardstock, and we're going to cut out and around, leaving a black border. And I will show you mine as soon as I am done here. This is what mine looks like once I've cut it out and I mounted black cardstock and I cut out and around it. You might want to grab a scratch piece of your cardstock and just put it right on under there. All we're going to do with this is we're going to make sure that this tip at the side of our dress is over here and over here, and we're going to have a line. This is going to be a tuck. So I think and again I went heavy-handed over there, but I'll smooth that out. So my edges of the skirt come just up a little, and I'll bring this up so you can see. Let me get some of this wiped up, and you can see that that does help. Get that out from behind. I'm not going to worry about this little piece down here putting any decorative paper on, but you can see the edges of her skirt is there. This is a spot where you can tuck And mine, my glue really came up really far. So just along the bottom is what I'm wanting, so I can get that in. There we go. So you can tuck a photograph back behind. However it is that you want to do. It's just a little tuck area. Okay, so on this, I see something else I want to get after. And it is Make It Happen. This little tag on here. I think I do. We'll see how it looks. If not, we'll use it somewhere else. So let's cut out and around this. Here's what mine looks like. I cut out and around it. We're going to grab some scrap black cardstock. We're going to glue it down, and we'll cut out and around, leaving a border on that. I cut out and around mine. And I think I might want to hang that right there. And all I'm going to do is put a little glue at the top. That's a little much. Bring it over a little from the side and press that. So again, in case you are tucking, you can still slide something back behind. It will hold it right in place. Let's grab one of our flowers, and you can daub it now a little or after it's down, whatever is easier. I've already daubed this one, and I'm just going to place it right here. All right, before we forget, what we're going to do is we're going to take the mate and we'll just place it right there. Here is panel 1, and we are ready to get this in there. All we're going to do is apply glue like we have. We're going to place it down. Make sure you are away from your hinge over here, and we will glue it down and burnish it. Okay, once you have that, open it up. Make sure that you are centered top and bottom. Got a black border up there. You look like you're where you're supposed to be. And again, I don't like glue, wet glue. It's messy. It gets all over me. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, what we can actually do is set this particular magnet down here. And all we're going to do is when we pull this in, make sure your side is flat, you're even top and bottom, and we're going to press. This is one that we can do now. So I'm going to release this. And again, I'm going to pull it over. I'm not going to let it latch yet until I know that my side is flat and I am even. So just take your time. And then you can press. Now, instead of lifting straight up, because you'll probably rip your magnet off, just pull this panel down a little. Now you are set. We are moving on to panel 2, but before we do that, I would like to fill in our inside spine areas, and I also would like to add something to the very, very front of this, and I think you'll like it. It more balances it out. So let's move on to that. So we are taking care of a few things here, and you will see somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. We are just going to cut that right on out. We're going to cut out and around this image. Then we're going to glue it down to some scrap cardstock, cut out and around, leaving a black border. And I will show you mine as soon as I am done. I have mine cut out, I backed it with some black cardstock, and this is what's going to make me very happy to finish off the cover. I felt like I needed something down here. We're just going to apply glue to this. I'm going to lift this up, and we'll stick it right down here. Now I'm happy with the cover. I think that looks a little more balanced out. It looks better. Let's open up and be very careful with that magnet that we set that is not covered. And again, when you come to here, just kind of push down a little so it will release. And we're going to get our paper for the inside spine areas. We're going to work with them one at a time. So remember when I said to keep your scraps, all of them? This is why. Now our first inside spine, where we have both of those score lines, that is about a 1/2 inch. This piece here is about a 1/2 inch. And let me give you the measurements. I found this in my reserves. And this is 9 3/4 tall, and that's exactly what we want. And what we're going to want to do is just trim like a 1/16 inch off the side so it fits in between those score lines a little better rather than hanging us up. So I'm going to just trim just a hair off there. So let me show you. All I took off was just a little teeny bit. Now, when I place this over here, I can center that in between the score lines comfortably, and I'm going to center that top and bottom. And I do want the wood grain, so you can go with this side or the other side, whatever it is that you want to do. And we'll just put a little glue, center it in between those score lines. You should not be on it. So there's our first one. In your reserves, you will find this. It's not so much wood. We have some browns in there and browns on this side, but I think it'll be okay. This is about, we're going to have to cut this down. I don't see, well, maybe I do see. Actually, there's 2 of them that will work. These are both 12 inches. See, this is what one looks like. It's just a trimming on the back. It looks like this. They are 12 inches long, and they are, oh goodness, they are about 5/8 inch wide, both of these. So what we're going to do, and they both look the same with the roses and some of the scallops on it, we're going to measure over 9 3/4 and cut. So after cutting them down, this is what it looks like. Now on each one of these, we're going to measure over 3/8 and cut. If you want the scallops in, go ahead, but I'm going to be cutting it so I get the scallops off. Okay, you'll have 2 of these, so just place one off to the side. What I'm going to do is place this one in between these score lines. And you can use whatever side, whichever one you want. I think I'll go with this one right there. And the other one, I will show you where that one goes. Kind of gives it a more finished look. Okay, now this one, we're going to fold in, and right here, this one goes on the side. And it should fit nicely. So here we go. And I think that that's good as far as the small ones. Now we'll get into the other ones after this. So this is going to kind of fling out on you a little. And it just finishes it off a little on the sides. Looks good. Go back in there, you. All right. we have these two to get after. In your reserves, you will have this print. This is about 1 1/4 wide, and it's 9 3/4 tall. Measure over 7/8 and cut. There we go. I'm going to place this one right here. That's pretty too. Whichever side you like best, they're the same pretty much. Okay, I'm going to fold that over. Now we have this one. In your reserves, you will have this beautiful piece. You'll see the wood grains going this way. We are about 10 3/4 tall by 1 1/8. First thing we're going to do is measure over 9 3/4 and cut. Next thing I'm going to do is measure over 7/8 and cut. I'm going to erase these little pencil marks now that I made on here. They are not necessary as a visual guide because we have this. You can go this side or you can go this side. I think I'm going to go with that side. That's really pretty. I feel good because we made a use of some of these long scraps. Okay, move some of this. Does your craft area seem to get smaller and smaller as you get into a project? I know mine does. Oh my gosh. So that's what it looks like. Now we've got separation between our panels. We are now moving on to panel 2, P2. We're on panel 2, P2, and we have some pre-cuts. We had 5 pieces of black cardstock that we cut at 4 1/2 by 5 1/4, and it said only label 1 waterfall P2. And on each one of these are the same. We laid this on our scoring board, so we are 4 1/2 inches across, and we scored it at 1/2 inch on each one of these. Next, we had a 2 3/4 by 6 1/4 inch piece, and what we did here was we laid it so we were 2 3/4 across. We scored it at 1/2 inch. We turned it so now we're 6 1/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5 3/4. We called that one a pocket. Let's get our decorative paper out. In your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print. And on the back, it looks like this. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try and center this on our main page. So what I would like you to do is measure over 1 3/8 and cut. So this is what you cut. We're going to put that in our reserves. Now we're going to measure over 9 1/4 and cut. So this is what you should have. Let's turn that. We're going to measure over 1 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you have. Place that in your reserves. Now measure over 9 3/4 and cut. Well, that looks semi-perfect. All right, so before we do anything with this, what I want us to do is open this up. Let's just keep flipping until we see our panel 2. And for this, I think we can work right on in our book. If we were to apply glue to this and glue it down right over that magnet and center it in between the score lines, top and bottom, it's gonna look good with our waterfall in our pocket that we will be placing. So you are gonna wanna remember to place some glue so to make sure you get it. And we're going to apply glue to this. This is a beautiful page we're putting glue on, but I think I want to use the other side for this because a lot of this will get covered up, half covered. Here we go. So the trick is just to get this on as even as you can, and that is not even. There we go. Let me get up that glue before it dries. And around up in here. That looks good. Okay, let's grab our 2 3/4 by 6 1/4 pocket. In the corners, let's get those little squares cut out. Okay, same thing we've been doing, fold in those sides, just get a little bit in the corners over there and pull up the bottom. Alright, so our opening's going to be right here. Now notice you have a magnet right here. So this is actually going to fit right to the left of that. Leave yourself maybe a 1/4 inch from there and maybe a 1/4 inch from the bottom. I think that would be good. And we're going to glue this one down, and then what we're going to do is get our waterfall placed. So again, 1/4 inch from the side, 1/4 inch from the bottom, and you will clear that magnet. Perfect. Let's get our paper really quick for that. In your reserves, you will find another piece that has the piano keys. This is 6 1/2 by 2 1/4. We're going to measure over 5 1/4 inches and cut. So that is what you should have when you are done. Turn it, measure over 2 1/8 and cut. Your final piece should look like this, and we're just going to apply glue and glue that down. We'll have a little black lip at the top. Let's grab our 5 pieces of our waterfall. All we're going to do on each one of these right now is fold on all those score lines. You're going to grab one with no writing. So we'll be placing that. We're going to need our ruler here and our pencil. So what we're going to do is from the top of our black cardstock, we're going to measure up 5 1/8, and we're just going to make a little light pencil line up there for us. That's going to be our guide, because what's going to happen, we're going to place glue. My peak is up. We're going to do it only on this. We'll fold it back behind. We will bring this up to that line, and we will place it. And we're going to try and stay the same amount away from the black cardstock over here, our border, as up here. So let's lay our first one. So just take your time. There's my little mark, and I'm just going to try and get this as even as I can, like the other one. It'll look good even if you get it a little bit off. We're going to grab another one with nothing on it. Place our glue. Now on this one, all we're going to do is we're going to just flip it over so the glue is down, and this one just comes and butts right on up next to the other one, so it's easy to place. And then when you bring it down, you can look and see you should line up with the other one. And we'll first burnish it this way and then this way. And these will settle down over time. We're going to grab another one with no writing. Put a little glue there. Same thing. Place it down, butt it up next to the other one, and then bring it down. And you can even them up if they don't seem even. let's keep going. Again, we're grabbing one with no writing. And we're going to place this. Okay, last one. And that's the one with writing. And we're going to place that up here. Let's finish up. I think I would like to use this piece. It's in our reserves. This is 12 inches long, and it's about 3 5/8 this way. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Let's see how that looks now. That looks pretty good. Let's glue that down. And again, we're just centering this in there evenly, so it has even amount of border. That same piece that you had that was cut off from here, measure over 4 7/8 and cut. So we are now 4 7/8, and I think I gave you the measurement on this, what we were at, about 3 5/8 or so. We're going to turn it so we're looking at it like this. What I'd like you to do is measure over a 1/2 inch and cut. And go ahead and just keep doing 1/2 inch cuts for this. We may not use them all because I want to put in some other color, but at least we have them there handy. So you're going to keep measuring over a 1/2 inch until you can't anymore. So we got about 7 of these. We'll just stick them up here for now. We're going to grab piece by piece, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. The first one, and I'm going to flip this one up. We're going to lay a piece here, the bottom of our second, and we're going to lay one right up here. Now when you do that, you're going to center it in between your sides so it matches up with the sides of that one. Looks like I got a little off on my cut there. I'll use this one. So again, pull one up, and then we will place this. Now sometimes, oh, I need to shift that over a bit. Sometimes it's easier because against the black cardstock, it's hard to see. Sometimes it's easier just to grab something out of your reserves and stick it behind so you can see your edge. I've found that to be true for sure. And we're going to do the same up here. Just give yourself a little black border is all. So as you can see, there's just a little black border here and whiter over here. Okay, we're going to flip that one up. We're going to flip the next one up, and we're going to be down here. I'm going to slide that behind, and I'm going to grab some of these pieces. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stick this down here. Try to get this as even as I can, side to side, and then I'll get up here. So far, this is what you should be looking like. We got that, that. So let's flip to the ones that has nothing on it. And I think this, giving it a little color. I definitely think this will work. It's from our reserves. So first thing I want you to do is we're going to trim off this brown here. And this is great use of our scraps. So what I'd like you to do is measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Measure over again 4 7/8 and cut. Okay, so this is what we should have. There's a brown border off to the right there. All we're going to do is measure over a 1/2 inch, cut, measure over a 1/2 inch and cut, and that will get rid of the brown. We're going to do the same on here, 1/2 inch cut, 1/2 inch cut. So I have these pieces. Again, what we're doing is flipping the first one up. We already have paper, flipping the second, and we will do the same thing here and here, and then we will flip to this one that has nothing. We will place one here and here. So let's do that really quick. I have all mine down, so I'm going to just flip this to kind of show you what we have. And then we do need one for here. And I think I want to go with something a little bit wider. We'll stick the rest of these in our reserves in case we need those. You should have this in your reserves. This is about 9¼ inches by about 1 1/8. Measure over 5¼ inches and cut. And it looks like this on the back. So that's what you should have. Turn it. Let's measure over 3/4 and cut. Once you have that, let's apply glue, and you can go either side. This is just going to go right up here to cover, or you can use this side. I'm going to go with this side here. Oh, shame on me. Right here, remember those little strips right up on the bottom? We need to grab one of these back out, and it goes right here. Now, one thing you can do at the end of the tutorial is cut strips to go in between, and you'll want to cut about 3/8 inch wide by about 5¼ if you would like to do that. I might do that at the end of the tutorial. Okay, so I want to show you something. This will calm down over time, but your pocket will help keep it down too. Once you have your picture mats and all that stacked in there, that'll hold that down. So let's see how this works now. Let's bring it over. It should latch. That looks good. We are now on to panel 3.